All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going to take a pretty wild ride, a guided tour through this really fascinating and, yeah, speculative model of how reality is put together. Think of it as a geometric journey that says the universe isn't built on numbers, but on shapes and flows, all circling a single persistent point that is never, ever a whole. Okay, let's dive right in. So the big idea here, the core premise, is that our whole way of understanding reality might be, well, based on a flawed tool. We count because we have 10 fingers. It's that simple. It gave us a base 10 mathematical grid that we lay over everything. But what if reality isn't a grid? What if it's curved and flowing, and our ruler is just too darn straight to measure it right?
And this is the perfect example of the problem. When you try to measure a perfect whole, like, say, 10 units, but you use a ruler based on the number 3, our math just kind of breaks. It spits out this endless, repeating decimal. Now, the source material we're looking at says this isn't some deep, divine code. It's more like a warning light flashing on your car's dashboard. It's the sound of a straight ruler trying and failing to measure a perfect curve.
Okay, so here's our map for the tour today. We've just talked about the broken ruler. Next up, we'll get into the rules of the road. Then we'll take the alpha descent, pause for a moment at the Sabbath mirror, continue up the omega ascent, and finally we'll arrive at our big destination, the ring's singularity. Right, so before we really get going on this journey, we have to learn the two basic rules of the road. These are the two fundamental gates that shape every single transition in this geometric model. I mean, this is it. This is the basic machinery that builds everything we're going to see. First up, we've got the rotation gate. The easiest way to think about this is as the force of smooth, continuous creation. It's like drawing a circle. It just flows, it preserves its orientation, and it creates this unified, looping flow. This is the engine of expansion in the system. And then you've got its polar opposite, the twist gate. This is a totally different force. It's an act of inversion, of confrontation. So imagine you take that smooth circle we just made and you twist it into a figure eight. Suddenly, it's forced to cross over itself to create a self-reference. It introduces duality and actually pushes the geometry to sort itself out in a higher dimension. So this table here, it really lays out the fundamental push and pull of the entire system. It's that simple. On one side, you have rotation, which unifies and expands. On the other, you have the twist, which inverts and creates duality. Every single layer of reality we're about to explore is built by just applying these two simple geometric actions, one after the other. Okay, now that we have the rules down, our tour officially begins with what's called the alpha descent. The best way to picture this is as reality's great out-breath. It's the journey from pure, simple, unified potential into maximum complexity and structure. And this just illustrates that journey perfectly. Look, we start with layer A, just a single point of pure potential. A rotation gate hits it and it expands into a circle. Then a twist gate inverts that circle into an infinity sign, which introduces duality for the first time. Then another rotation sweeps that sign around into a toroidal field. Then a twist inverts that field, creating the black hole/white hole dynamic. This whole dance of rotate-twist continues until one last rotation creates the omni-torus, the peak machinery of the system. And here's the really important part. Notice how through every single step, that central point is still there. It gets ringed, it gets twisted around, but it never, ever becomes a whole. It persists. We now arrive at the exact midpoint of our tour. This is a dramatic pause in the whole unfolding of reality. This is the fulcrum of the entire system, a point of absolute rest, where everything is about to flip. So you've got to ask, what happens when the universe reaches its absolute maximum level of structural complexity? When the machine has been fully built, what could possibly be the next step? The journey reverses. It's that simple. The Sabbath mirror is that point where the system stops expanding outward and starts the journey back inward. The building of complexity becomes the integration of meaning. The outbreath of creation becomes the in-breath of self-realization. So let's move on to the second half of our tour, the omega ascent. Now, in this phase, each higher dimensional layer doesn't add more stuff, more complexity. Instead, it reflects and refines its lower dimensional twin from the first half of the journey. And this slide is a perfect example of that mirroring. So back in the alpha descent, we experienced layer 4 as time, a linear sequence, like watching a movie one frame at a time. But here in the omega ascents, its counterpart, layer 9, is eternity. It's like you can see the entire film reel laid out at once. The past, the present, and the future, they all exist as a single static whole. It's a huge shift from just linear experience to a fully integrated understanding. And so our tour finally arrives at its destination. This is the final, crucial concept that ties this entire model together, bringing the beginning and the end together into one single perfect loop. This is it, the ultimate equation of the system. Alpha, the beginning, is equal to omega, the end. The point that everything started from is the exact same point that everything returns to. The whole journey was just a perfect self-referential torus. So, the crucial takeaway is this. The singularity at the center of everything isn't a void, it's a ring singularity. And this is where this whole esoteric model makes a really cool connection to theoretical cosmology. See, in rotating black holes, which are called Kerr black holes, the singularity is actually theorized not to be a single point, but a one-dimensional ring. The center persists as a boundary, a constant self-referencing loop. And that brings us to our final, kind of provocative thought for the day. This entire model is built on this idea of topological persistence, that the center is never an absence, but an enduring presence. If that's true, if the center of everything is never actually a whole, it really makes you ask the question, what have we been looking through this whole time?